How do I overcome self-doubt? I think it's a daily affirmation, a daily choice to affirm yourself that you're, supposed to be in that position for a reason. I think as a Christian, my faith is quite pivotal to me. So nothing is by accident. I think God there's often like destiny in the equation, and God will place you in certain places and around certain people for a reason. So nothing is by accident, and it's just that daily choice and reminder to tell yourself, I'm supposed to be here. So there's no point of doubting yourself ultimately.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of The Student Guide, where we discuss incredible topics with incredible people. We learn about different fields, but most importantly, as students of life, we get to learn more about the ways that we can impact the world, whether it's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through the career and profession that we follow and choose, or whether it's just through exploring new options and new streams of change, whether that's through university, through community action, or so much more. We've had amazing guest speakers on this season so far, and we've got another one lined up for you today. But I don't like to do introductions, so I'm going to hand over to today's guest speaker. Could we please know a bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, amazing. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here and to share some insight and knowledge. My name is Chiemezie. I'm 23 years old. I'm a digital marketing specialist, originally from Southeast London, but I've moved out to Kent. I work for a company called Salesforce, and I've been at the company for about 5 years now. So that's a little about me.
Thank you so much, man. And it's incredible we met at the Black Tech Achievement Alumni event, and it was incredible to see all the work that you've been doing. I look forward to learning more about you and your experience very shortly. Before we go into the questions, our avid and regular listeners will know that we have a segment called 44 Questions, which is brought to you by the amazing Amanda from 44 Words, bespoke bookmaker, making incredible change and incredible thought-provoking conversations through the work that she does. And as you know, she reviews all our guest bios and comes up with a unique question for us to explore and learn more about them in a creative way. So, my question for you, which may be a tough one, and let me know, I'd love to hear and you can expand more on your answer as well, is how do you overcome self-doubt?
How do I overcome self-doubt? I think it's a daily affirmation, a daily choice to affirm yourself that you're, supposed to be in that position for a reason. I think as a Christian, my faith is quite pivotal to me. So nothing is by accident. I think God there's often like destiny in the equation, and God will place you in certain places and around certain people for a reason. So nothing is by accident, and it's just that daily choice and reminder to tell yourself, I'm supposed to be here. So there's no point of doubting yourself ultimately.
100%. That's really incredible, man. And I think, as you mentioned there, that they're really, faith can play a huge part in just encourage, like you said, that daily reminder that, you've just got to trust God. Man, thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to go into one final thing I will say, based on what you said as well, is, I think, I'm not that much older than you, but it's incredible to see that at your age, you have already realized that, because I think the earlier you understand how to overcome self-doubt and implement those changes into your life, those really help you, especially whether and we will talk about it later, challenges that young people are facing today. But I think, like you said there, having that knowledge and that understanding that early on is really impactful to developing as you go along. But yeah, we're going to go into the first official question, which is looking at your journey into youth development. So, what inspired your passion for youth development? Is the first part. It's a long question, so I'll ask the first part and then I'll go into the second part later. But what first inspired your passion for youth development?
Yeah, what first inspired it? So I think, again, I've been in positions where I've been able to, have youth around me and almost empower them and do like community work. And I think just seeing the potential and the innocence in young people is something you kind of want to honor and protect as a person, and you want to empower them to be the best people they can be. I've done that in like different types of contexts, whether it be mentorship or like youth leadership in my maybe local church or whatever it may be, but just pouring into young people. I think it's really rewarding. So that's kind of one of my like main motivations, and not even just in the UK. To be honest, I think one of my passions is also to do youth charity work and development across Africa as well, and empower the next generation of young people in the continent. So as well as it being in this country, I try to do it wherever I can. But it's really a driving force behind what I do, the young people and being an example. So that definitely inspires it for sure.
100%. And I think we still got the second part, so I won't talk too long about what you just spoke about. But I think, like you said there, that it really is amazing to see also how you're not just focusing on your like youth development in your immediate area, but also back home as well. People may not be able to see it. Wearing my Nigerian necklace from tidbit, a bit of side. If they're not, I'm not an affiliate of theirs, and they're not paying for this episode to be promoted, but they're an amazing brand. Yeah, Azura is so if you're looking for like jewelry, they've got this Nigerian necklace. You can't really see it. I might have to take a photo and make it appear on the screen, but it's got, so this one is particularly on Nigeria, and it's got the 3 different rivers and different cities around Nigeria on it. But they've also got one for different African nations, as well as like one for just Africa, but they've also got one for Caribbean islands as well. So yeah, definitely I'll recommend to check them both out. But yeah, as you were saying, with like giving back to home, I think that's one thing that sometimes I think there's a misconception that you have to be like either at a particular level or you have to be at a particular, you have to be making a particular amount. I know also like there's wider conversations that people have regarding like black tax and like giving money back to people at home and things like that. But I think, like you said, like it doesn't always have to be like monetary, the way you're supporting youth development. It can be through whether it's like you said, like mentoring, one-to-one coaching, even if it's just like resource sharing, like there was a previous guest on one of our other podcasts, Behind the Curtain, and they basically like reached out to me to be on the podcast. They're in Nigeria, but they saw that we had interviewed like similar people and they were just like, I'd love to come on. And I was like, sure, why not? And yeah, they see that they've seen the content that we've done. They've sometimes mentioned that sometimes they've connected with like some of the guests that have been on as well. So it's like we said there, that it doesn't always need to be like a monetary exchange. It can also just be like sharing like advice and knowledge. The second part of the question is looking at also like you have different skill sets. So you've got skills in digital marketing, also in speaking, and also in entrepreneurship. So how did you begin to merge these different skills to help you pursue like this mission of youth development?
Yeah, I think so. I would start from digital marketing because the context in which I got into digital marketing was through an apprenticeship. I didn't really take the conventional route by going to university. I almost had another journey, but I use that almost as the foundation because that's like the basis of my story in which I can share to people. And so it's almost interconnected into my speaking because I try to use that, background to share with others. And from that, I can kind of grow into entrepreneurship and thankfully I've been able to do some entrepreneurship opportunities as well, which I'm also trying to steward more and grow into. But I try to interconnect the three and really leverage it to people who need it ultimately. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really key. And I think it's like what you said there that, you've merged different areas of yourself to essentially go towards this mission. And I think sometimes people think that, your like your career or like career version of yourself is one thing, and then let's say you've got a side hustle or a creative passion, that's another thing. The different and there are the way you'd interact with your manager may not necessarily be the same way you'd interact with your close friends and things like that, which is perfectly fine. But it's also about remembering that you've got different skill sets in those different areas that you can bring into, whether it's like you said with yourself, it's a central mission that you're aiming for. For others, it might be, if you have a side hustle, you might have had to learn about, specific tools or resources that can help you develop and grow. That could offer you skills in your work, in the work that you do day to day. So I think, like you said there, it's really key to be aware of that you can bring your whole self or your whole skill set to the different communities and initiatives that you're in. So yeah, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We're going to go on to the next question, which is looking at some of the opportunities that you've essentially, found, but also that you're very interested in. So you mentioned in your bio that you're interested in finding opportunities in corporate, in charity, and in creativity. How do these three spaces interact in your work to empower young people?
Yeah, I think so the corporate element is, I guess it's really just creating a roadmap for other young people to follow, whether that be apprenticeships. I think apprenticeships are incredibly underrated as a path. I think a lot of young people are not fully set on what they want to do. So I think an apprenticeship almost gives a nice buffer, or it's just a nice balance of going into corporate and still earning a qualification. It was what I was able to do. So it's just helping young people, and ultimately university as well is incredibly valuable. But and going the corporate ladder through that way. But as long as young people are able to get those types of experiences from corporate, that's a great thing. And I think young people ultimately have something to offer, and that's why creativity is another value that I hold dear to my heart, because I think the young people are our future, and ultimately they have things to share. And I think they should definitely harness their creativity and leverage it a lot more. So and the final one is giving back, charity. When you give, you will receive. Not just financially, but just in terms of being content, you will receive. You will be rewarded. So yeah, giving back is so rewarding, and I encourage other young people to do that as well.
No, 100%. I think, like you said, giving back to people and sharing your knowledge and your experiences are really key. I think sometimes there is a misconception that as a young person, you don't have anything to give, or because maybe you're super early in your career, there's not much advice that you can share to people either, who've been in your organization for longer than you, or maybe even, people who are more senior than you. But we mentioned it on previous episodes that, there's things like reverse mentoring. So rather than the traditional aspect of mentoring, where it's usually the mentee is less experienced in a particular area or skill set and wants to learn from someone else, it's someone who's more senior learns from someone who's more junior in an organization. And, those really help people sort of understand how it can help people more senior understand people who are coming into the company or people who are more junior in the company are feeling given the experience. Because, if you've been let's say if you've been in an organization for like 15 years, the job market when you entered into that organization is going to be completely different from someone who's been there for like 2 years or even like a year or a couple of months. So stuff like reverse mentoring, I think, is really key because it allows that knowledge transfer still from mentoring, but also it does it in a way that it's also encouraging like someone who's a bit more junior to still feel that they're making like a change at their company or with the organization that they're working with as well. So it's great to see that, like with your own journey that you're doing, like mentoring has been a key part of what you're doing and giving back to people as well. So yeah, thank you for that. We're now going to go on to Treasure Talks, our new segment for the season where we ask our amazing guest speakers to bring and show an item that is very important to them and their journey and represents who they are as a person. We've seen amazing items so far this season, and we've got another amazing item coming your way. So could we please know the treasured item that you brought today?
Yeah, I actually bought my Bible. It's I wouldn't say I've had it since I was a boy. Like I think I bought it maybe like 5 years ago. And funny story, I think like the first week I had it, I had like a bottle of a carton of KA black grape in my bag, and it kind of like drenched it, and it was so annoying. But thankfully, like the pages were still intact, and I was able to still like go through it. And I kind of took a lesson from that not everything in life needs to be all kept together and perfect. In fact, there's probably going to be some imperfections, but ultimately, like God's word and God's instruction is the most important thing. So it doesn't matter about the external, what's inside, and the content is really what matters. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so true, man. And I think, like you said there, that like it does, like even if looking at it with a spiritual lens, so to speak, like from a Christian point of view, that I guess in the same way that the Bible got stained by the KA, sometimes you might feel that I don't know, you're not worthy, or you might feel like, hey, like life's become super like stressful, and you might feel that you can't come to God because you're not spending, whether it's time reading the Word, or you're not going to church or stuff like that. And it's just, I guess, like you said, like a reminder that it doesn't matter. Like it's like you don't have to do anything to earn God's love. It's always there. So in the same way that like the KA didn't stay in the Bible the KA, even though it did stay in the Bible, it's still God's word. You can still read it. It didn't change anything about the book itself and the words on it. It's the same way that you can always step in and receive God's love. So I think that's a perfect item, and it really represents. It's clear to see it represents a key part to your journey. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to our third question. But before we start this question, we will be talking about our mic check, which is an interesting fact, figure, or story related to the conversation today. And this one we have mentioned in the previous season, but it's still very much important one as well. And this is from the Office of National Statistics in the UK. And in 2024, they released a report, and it said that over 70,000 young people aged 16 to 24 are currently not in education, not in employment, or training, which is referred to as NEET. And as some of you who listen to the show regularly, watch the show regularly, you may remember that we discussed a particular organization that's addressing this, dipped in creative engagement, CIC or DICE CIC. And, this really highlights the important need for initiatives that focus on skill development, on mentorship, and having access to opportunities, as we've discussed here today. So looking at this, from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges facing young leaders and innovators today? And where do you see the greatest opportunities for growth?
That's a great question. And I think one of the immediate thoughts that come to mind is an identity crisis and what young people really, think they are. I think ultimately, there's a lot of. I think it's okay to be a follower, but when there's too much of that, that can be an issue. And I think we need more young leaders, and maybe young people don't have that courage or maybe internal belief, motivation, self-esteem to think they're a leader and not a follower. And so, when you're a leader, it empowers you to do things. It empowers you to take action. It empowers you to fulfill education or go that extra step further. And ultimately, I feel like we need maybe a mindset shift with young people today. I think we need to empower young leaders more and more. And it's one of the things I'm passionate about. It's probably, could be one of the reasons for the decline, unfortunately. But there's always hope. There's always a next trend. There's always a next. I think young people are very impressionable. And I think that's a blessing and a curse in a way, but I think we could use it to our advantage to push out the right narratives and messages out for young people, which they can really grasp onto. So, that would be my answer there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think, like you said there, that, even with the CIC, with the episode where we discussed their work, particularly in addressing this, that was one of the things that they mentioned, is that, they found that there's a lot of opportunities out there for young people, whether it's skills development, leadership development, whether it's career opportunities. But for a lot of young people, they're either not getting access to these messages, they're not being given, if they do, or they find out about these messages, sometimes, it comes with additional criteria that isn't necessarily super clear on their website. So it might be that, they might see an opportunity for their age range, but then it turns out, you need to be maybe in a specific industry, or you need to be in, focusing on a specific area of work that you want to get into. You need to, if it's business ones, I know, for example, there's some that you have to have been registered. If you apply, you have to have been registered as a company for at least, some of them say, minimum of a year. Some of them say less than a year. So it can be hard and disheartening for a young person to apply for a program and then to, or even while as they're doing the application, find out that actually, this isn't for me. I know from some of the young people that, whether it's through Pick Up the Mic or through sort of just the spaces that Pick Up the Mic is in, I know it's the same thing. Sometimes they don't find out about these development opportunities, or even if they see it, they're just well, actually, I don't feel like the criteria would fit me because I don't match everything and stuff like that. So it can be very disheartening for them. But I think, like you mentioned, it's really key to have spaces, making things, it's one, a visibility thing, but also it's making it clearer. And like you said, having those roadmaps. So it's if you're 16 and you're interested in these industries, this is these are programs that you can go on. These will be available to you for X number of years. And then, if you finish on these programs and you can want that continual support, here's another set of programs you could go on. being aware of like, you might need to like apply for these programs before you're, let's say, like 25, which is the new sort of like cutoff age for some of these opportunities. Because I know there are some people that have been like, oh, this program looks great, or this event looks great, this is so amazing, I'd love to come along. And then they find out actually this isn't for like, this is only for like 18 to 30-year-olds, and they would love to come along or support, but they're not able to because of their age. So I think, like you said there, just making these leadership opportunities really clear for people is super important.
That's well said, man. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to go on to the last question before we go into passing the mic, where we will hear the amazing questions that have been prepared for today. But looking ahead, what is your vision for impact that you want to make in youth development, and what is your vision for the impact you want to make in youth development? And what role do you believe platforms like podcasts or digital media can play in supporting that journey?
Well, in terms of impact, I would say, I guess it's you want to leave something behind for the next generation, a legacy, not to toot your own horn, but it's almost just the impact of like the message of what you're trying to carry. Ultimately, you want to see lives changed for the better, mindsets changed, attitudes shifted. So, like every young person that's empowered is definitely my measure of success, and believing in themselves. It could be in so many different contexts. Like, it could be helping a young aspiring football player to get his first contracts. It can look like helping a young girl who's been working so hard to get into a Russell Group uni to study chemical engineering, and helping her with her personal statement. And I think most of us, especially in our position as a bit older, it's funny saying that because we're still young, but there's always a younger person in our life that fits the mold, and we can pour into that person. So it doesn't even need to look like in this like grand scale of like I'm gonna start my own enterprise like of youth empowerment. They could just look like phoning up someone or following up on someone over text, and mentoring them that way. So that's definitely the impact. In terms of how we can scale it and how we can leverage like things like podcasts, I think social media is really the way, man. Like, you got things like TikTok, Instagram, X, like LinkedIn, like just amazing opportunities to scale and collaboration with other youth enterprises and things of like similar ideas as well. So social media is probably the best way to scale it out and get your message heard from people.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like you said there, we've seen it. We've seen it as social media has grown and become like a tool for change. We've seen people, run campaigns, share opportunities. There are Instagram and TikTok accounts that focus on literally, as you mentioned, like sharing development opportunities for young people. There are people. I tell people this, like, people get surprised about this, but I say this to, people who are on LinkedIn. I say that there are loads of people in organizations, and sometimes people think it's only junior people in organizations that are interested in it, but I would say in my experience there are a lot of senior people as well who are interested in like sharing their knowledge and their resource with people who are interested. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the ones that, you always see at like public speaking events or stuff like that. So I always tell people, if there's someone doing a job that you want to do, or is doing like you're working for an organization that you would love to work for, reach out to them on LinkedIn, send them a message and just be like, hey, love the work that you do. I would love to, have like a short call with you to run through like some career next steps or any advice that you've got for me, because I'm in a similar industry. I want to get into a similar industry to you. And yeah, you'd be surprised. It might start off with one conversation. It might be like you might not hear back. But I always tell people that if you don't put yourself out there and ask for some of these like opportunities and like, you know, express your interest in working with people, you'll never know if like they would be interested. And yeah, I know that there have been people who have done it. They've received like career opportunities. Some of them have received support for their business. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing that you mentioned on, you know, like you don't have to be like an entrepreneur to get to that stage and like to do that impactful work, I think is really key. Because I think, like you said, there is a huge misconception that, you know, you need to be like, to do these like development opportunities, you need to be, you know, at a certain level. You have to be at a certain level, or you have to, you know, be like within a specific career. Because I think that's not true at all. Sorry, the extension in the co-working space is not working. That misconception that you need to be, like, it needs to be like set up as a business and stuff like that. But I tell people, as you mentioned, that, you know, it can be a one-to-one thing. So they're a community partner, but also a good friend of mine. They run an organization. Well, this is not even really, like, it's not registered as a company, but it's an incredible, like, they do incredible community work. Her name is Elise. She runs a organization called Room to Be. And like that just started out from her saying that, you know, she feels like there were no spaces for people in their 20s and 30s to just like be themselves and not be like coming in like with the work and the networking side of things, and not coming in from like just I want to hang out and chill with people. Like there's none of these third spaces. But even like with the work that she's been doing, she has done incredible stuff. So she did a research project with students who studied, I believe it was anthropology, but wanted to get into like research. But even with that, like she basically just did like a call out on, I think, TikTok and Instagram, and was just like, hey, like if you're interested, DM me or like fill out this form and I'll get you involved in this research project that I'm running. And like, I can help you to, you know, you'll take part, I'll offer you advice, you'll create this. And then based on this, you know, this is something that you can say you were involved in on your CV. But yeah, it was really cool. They presented the work. So I took part, they presented the work that they did, which was really interesting. And I think that that's one of the things that like people don't, like you said, like people think it has to be like a business, or it needs to bring in like financial money, or you need to be registered as a company. But, you know, simple things like that. She even did, I don't know if it's happened yet or not, but she did, she's doing at this, like at the time of recording, a career, like a CV session online, because she was just like, hey, I feel like, you know, I've been applying for jobs, or I've applied for loads of jobs before, and I've been on both sides of the table as an interviewer and as an interviewee. So I know like what makes a good CV. So I'm happy to like help people to do like a CV session. And again, she's not charging for that. It's not something she's necessarily trying to make into a business, but she was just like, hey, I just feel like a lot of people are struggling with X, so I'm going to support them with Y. And I think, like you said there, that's essentially, I think, on a longer term scale, and you know, people say it's funny, someone who like runs a business, it's interesting to say, but I would say you don't, like you said there, that even if you want to make a change, you don't have to necessarily always do it as a business. And sometimes doing it as a business, like, I guess how do I word this in the best way? Like not my word of warning, but I guess my reality check is that like running a business is not as easy as people may think from like, you know, like business podcasts that they watch or whatever. Like it's not that easy, and it can be quite a tough journey. And it's not for me, 100%. And it's not me saying this to put anyone who's watching or listening off, but it's to say like, you know, I've told, even like with Elise, like we were talking about, you know, if she should register as a business or not. And I was like, hey, look, if you just want to support a community and you have no interest in necessarily turning this into like a money-making, like getting money from this, or, you know, you don't have the time to do that necessarily now, I said, just run it as like if you leave it the way it is, you don't need to be a business to do this. And, you know, she's been doing that so far. So, yeah, so I guess, like, those are my 2 points. It's like you said, like, don't feel that you need to be involved in, like, you need to set something up as a business, or like you need to ensure that you're making money for it to be seen as something that can have like a huge, important impact.
Yeah, well, it's exactly that, because there's this tendency for us to officiate everything, but not everything needs to be official. Some things are okay to be, you know, casual and in that type of environment and space. And yeah, you could argue there's more impact sometimes when things are almost that, like, that serious tag is removed and the official tag is removed. So, yeah.
100%. Thank you. But yeah, we've now come to passing the mic. So I will hand over to you. Let me know any questions or question you'd like to ask me. And we can go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Put me on the spot. Where do you see this podcast in the next 5 years?
So the podcast specifically, I see... Well, I'll talk about this one specifically, since we're on the student guide. With this, in the next 5 years, I imagine it will continue to go. We're currently on season 8. I have a strong feeling that we'll get to season 10 probably around this time next year. Because like even the fact that we got even getting to season 8 is an incredible achievement. But even the fact that we've, like, at this time of recording, we've recorded, I think, like almost half of the season for season 8. So there will be sort of like so we'll be starting it. It would have already started by the time this episode's come out, but we will be we've started to record a lot of it in like bulk content. So for us, it's really good because it means that at least with this podcast, which was our first one, there's a lot of consistency with it. So yeah, so I see even 5 years, like this definitely being like, you know, on its ideally 20th season, and like continuing the work that it's doing. I think the second thing that I see as well, which is equally as important, is I see there being like a huge, so one of the things that we're currently working on, especially for our to start it for our 5th birthday, and then it's one of the things that we're working on, or one of the things we're going to announce our 5th birthday for Pick Up the Mic as a business, but then as... But this podcast is something we want to do for our 10th season, and ideally for our 100th episode, is to come up with like a short book that is basically all 10 seasons, which would be on the 10th episode of the 10th season, would be 100 episodes. So having that as like a book, whether it'll most likely be like an online book just to begin with, and then, you know, the possibilities of it being turned into like a physical one. But yeah, to have it as a book that it's just like, we've had all these really cool conversations with loads of different people on loads of different topics. And the way that we see it is that like each season is almost like a edition of each season is an edition of the book, and each episode is like a chapter in that book, because we've seen that there's been like really cool conversations with different people, and sometimes it's very much like about the times. So even from like looking at when we started in 2021 to now, there's been loads of cool conversations. And then one final thing I would say is I just see us continuing to bring on different guests, people at all different stages of their career and doing different bits of work. So whether they are early stage, young professionals or founders, or whether they're people who've been like industry leaders who've been in their like industry for a bit of time or running their business for a bit of time, just continuing these amazing conversations and bringing people on.
Amazing. Very cool.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Yeah, one more. Who is behind the Pick Up the Mic podcast? Like, what is the team behind it all?
Yeah, so the team is a mix of a few different people. So we have, my family help out with it as well from time to time. So they're not, so like my sisters do, so they're not necessarily like fully on the team, but they help out with what I do, especially when it comes to the events that we run. My brother and a friend of ours called Morgan, they run a separate podcast called The Chiemezie, which focuses on like sci-fi and fantasy. So discussing different topics in those like fields and bringing on like, sometimes they bring on friends or, you know, people that they've met that know a lot about those industries. So that's really cool. And then we've got quite a few like freelancers who some used to be previous interns, or some are like friends who I know like are into like photography or videography, who help out from time to time as well. And then we get interns from Brunei University through two different like schemes that they run. So we also sort of like have a few team members from there as well.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Good stuff, man.
Any other questions?
That's pretty much all, to be fair. So.
No, that's perfect, man. Thank you. We're now going to go on to the MT of the Month section, which is an organisation or individual related to the topic that we're discussing today. And for today's conversation, based on today's conversation, our organisation is the Prince's, they're now called the King's Trust. So the King's Trust, they are dedicated to supporting young people to build confidence, gain skills, and access employment or entrepreneurship opportunities. They run a whole host of different programs. For example, they run one called Enterprise, which is specifically about supporting young people aged 18 to 30 with business ventures. So you can either be at the idea stage, you know, the research development, revenue generating, scaling stage. And yeah, they essentially support they do workshops, they post about all of them on their website. So if you are interested and you do want to get involved in one of their programs or events, we do recommend that you check out their website and sign up. But yeah, they are MC of the Month, so keep an eye on this page. Sign up to their page and keep an eye for when their programs next open. But yeah, we've now come to the takeaway segment, the last segment of the episode, which is where we hear a summary of everything discussed with our guest speakers. So Chiemezie, it's been great speaking to you. If you were to sum up this episode in one, if there was a central theme that you would say like this episode's been about, that you want our audience to go home with, what would that message be?
Yeah, I think always, or one word, I'll use a phrase, but just give back. It's rewarding. Pour into the younger generation. It'll be so valuable. And give back your time. That's how I would sum it up.
Perfect, man. And I think, like you said there, that it's really key to give back to young people. Even if you are a young person, don't feel that you don't have anything to give back, because you never know your skill, your experience, your knowledge, any of the things that you have in your life, you could really impact someone by giving back to them. So yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, we've now come to the end of the episode. It's been incredible speaking to you, Chiemezie. This is an opportunity that we allow guest speakers to share how people can connect with them, if they've got any opportunities that are coming up throughout this year or next year that the people should keep an eye out for, if there's any opportunities that your people like yourself know about that people should keep an eye out for. This is your opportunity to share.
Yeah, happy to connect on LinkedIn. You'll see most of my updates there, really. I haven't got anything in the pipeline, maybe towards the end of the year, but hopefully beginning of next year, we should see a lot more stuff coming together. Connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Chiemezie, 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 and then Anosike is my surname, Anosike, on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'll be there. You should see digital marketer and all of that stuff, and probably the best way to connect.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you to you, our wonderful audience, for coming back to another episode. If you liked this episode, like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of the other episodes on the Pick Up the Mic podcast, the Student Guide podcast or the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel, then please make sure you click the notification bell at the bottom of the video. If you want to receive cool merch like the t-shirt that I'm wearing with the Pick Up the Mic logos on them, as well as our notebook as well, then please make sure that you either get in touch with us or send us a DM to let us know that you're interested. You can also get exclusive discounts, early access to our events, and more opportunities through either signing up to our Patreon page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our YouTube channel membership, which are all linked in the description. And then finally, if you want to keep an eye out, or if you want to check out our other YouTube channels, we have 3 other ones. So if you want to learn about gaming, check out Pick Up the Controller, Sensates of Anime for all our anime fans out there, and finally the 2 Maesters with Joshua and Morgan for all of our sci-fi fantasy fans. And if you head to the homepage of Pick Up the Mic and scroll down past the For You section, you'll see all of them listed just there. But yeah, we're going to close this chapter of the Student Guide. Thank you very much for coming, everyone. It's been great having you with us here, and we look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. So that's bye from us here, and have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
Stop. Bye.